Good morning. We are running late. So sorry that we started late this morning. I have been trying to get into I've been trying to get into this thing. They changed how you use Facebook Live. They're changing it rather. And in the process of changing it, it is not allowing me to get in here and do what I need to do right away. So, good morning. I am glad to see you. Chico Brown, I cannot believe you joined our Facebook Live. I'm hoping that I'm on the right platform right now. I'm supposed to be on my 2020 Shift to Success, but I may actually be in a different platform. And I'm hoping I'm actually in the right platform. So, good morning. Welcome to 2020 Shift to Success, where we are shifting your crisis story. And we're starting a little late, so I know my regular group is probably out of here because we're usually off of this thing by 9:20. I apologize for the delay. There is a new platform on Facebook that I am trying to learn to use. But anyway, we're going to get started with shifting our crisis story today. And we are on day 10 of shifting your crisis story. And today, our topic is creating a legacy story to build on. Today, it's Tuesday, time for Tuesday, touting your story. I want you all to think about touting your story, telling your story. And again, day 10 in shifting our crisis story is also the final day of our walking through the movie Self-Made. I really enjoyed diving into the characters to find what made them tick and what made them relevant to help us shift our stories. So, welcome again to day 10, Shifting Your Crisis Story. For any newbies that are watching, I'm Dr. Theon, self-described doting mom, loving and loved sister friend, dog owner to Jax the Destructo dog. And through servant leadership, I share my talents as a story strategist. My business, Beyond Story, has touched thousands of lives through corporate team building, entrepreneurship, and everyday people who create their stories in profit-centric strategies around their stories. Hi, Brenda. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see you here. So for the last 9 days together, we have taken the characters from the movie Self-Made and looked through the lens of creating our crisis story. Creating our story through this crisis based on their characteristics. We started with Madam C.J. Walker, finding her authentic voice and using her authentic story. And then we went into Charles Joseph. And Charles Joseph, who was her husband, helped Madam C.J. Walker to actually emancipate and showcase her story. Then we took a look at Annie Malone, who was known as Addie Monroe in the movie, and we looked at that about looking at your competitive edge. What does your story say about your competitive edge? Do you have a competitive edge in whatever it is that you do? So we took a look at that character as well. And then we looked at Cleophas. Cleophas was probably a fictional character in the movie, but we looked at Cleophas as the wise counsel. And where do you get your counsel from? Who is your support group that you listen to and that you go to? Freeman Ransom, who is a real character in the Madam C.J. Walker story, we looked at in terms of humility and loyalty. He was her operating manager, he was her attorney, and was very loyal to Madam C.J. Walker. She was very loyal to him. Freeman Ransom we looked at with humility as well, because this was a man who could have been just doing his own thing, but he decided to work with Madam C.J. Walker. Finally, yesterday we looked at Sweetness, which again was probably a fictional character. And we looked at Sweetness in terms of understanding our principles. Sweetness was a numbers runner. And in the movie, Sweetness, he came across as a sweet guy, but he was doing some bad deals. So when we talked about Sweetness, we talked about when you create your story, when you are building the story of your career, of your business, of your if you're writing your own story, or of your anything that you're doing, your career, your life story, how do you principle yourself? Values, what are your principles? What is it that you actually look at in yourself and hold dear and hold strong with? So I want to say hello to everybody else who's joined. I already said hi to Chico and Brenda, Michelle Genty. Thank you for joining. Al Crawford. Hey, Al. Back to APCH. Lisa, good to see you. And Melanie, hey, yes. And it is good to kind of take a look at the movies that we're looking at, which is what we did this past 10 days, and look at it through the lens of how do we get through our crisis story. We're living in a crisis story right now, and that means we're quarantined, we're dealing with something we've never dealt with before, and we have to figure out new ways of working through it. So we all have crisis stories, but we can take these crisis stories and turn them into champion stories. When the group first started, we came up with a new acronym for COVID-19. We know that it's coronavirus disease 2019, but we created the acronym of coming out victoriously, illuminating ideas daily, 19 days and counting. This series is for 19 days. We are on day 10. And in this process, we are going to get through this crisis, and we're going to have stories that we can build on and grow with as we go through this. Some of you are going to create new businesses. I've had some of the people in this group creating new businesses, and I'm excited about that. And some of you are going to have new lives as you go out into the world because you're going to see things in a different way. So today, we're going to look at the character from the movie Self-Made. We've looked at all these different characters over the last 9 days, and today is day 10, and we're ending with one of my favorite characters in the movie, Madam C.J. Walker's daughter, who was Lelia Walker. And Lelia Walker was played by the incomparably funny and versatile Tiffany Haddish, which was wonderful because, of course, I know Tiffany. Chico knows Tiffany. A lot of you on here may know her, and you've seen her, of course, in movies. Tiffany plays Lelia, who is Walker's daughter from her first marriage, raised by her single mother. Lelia is like bright and funny and smart. In real life, Walker's daughter was named Alelia, just like Walker's great-great-granddaughter. And she became the president of her mother's company after she died in 1919. Hey, Betta Porch. And Dr. Stephanie, good to see you. So in the process of building out your story and building out your crisis story, we can take a look at the Lelia character to see how we continue building our story. What's so unique about Lelia that warrants us speaking about shifting our story from her is that in the movie, this character was blessed to have a mother who did everything possible to assure that her life was better than others, but she still had to create her own story. Her story had a little twist to it because in the Netflix movie, they made the character a lesbian. So in the Netflix version, it seems that she had to choose between her identity as a lesbian woman and her identity as an heiress to the Walker fortune. She had to choose the story that she wanted to live out fully. Now, many of you might say this really wasn't fair and that Lelia should have been free to do whatever she wanted to do. I argue that she actually was free to do what she wanted, and she chose what she wanted. And what she chose to do was run the business that her mother was building as a legacy tool. Now, I love that Tiffany Haddish played this part because there are so many similarities in the two. Lelia loved the arts just as Tiffany does. And Lelia had a heart for the underdog and orphans. Tiffany comes from a background of being a foster child. And she has a foundation that supports foster youth. But the biggest similarity in all of this was the decision that they both have made to create a legacy of wealth. In the movie, Lelia could have rode off into the sunset and partied in Paris, but instead she stayed and she studied the business until she took it over. History shows us that she took the business over in 1919 and remained president until her death. Under her management, the Walker Company launched many marketing campaigns, including a contest where ministers could win a trip to the Holy Land. Now, that sounds like something that Tiffany Haddish would have thought of. So, again, the characters were very much alike. Now, Lelia was also key to assuring that the Walker Company stayed relevant. She was the face of the company for the years that followed her mother's death. And then Freeman Ranson was still the operating manager, so she was smart enough to keep him as a manager and attorney, but she realized how to utilize his expertise, just like her mother did. In Self-Made, she added fun and inspiration to the story. You could see that she was a fun-loving character, but she also brought what it takes to build and sustain a legacy. And what it took was determination and dedication. We're going to delve a little deeper into those two words right now so that you'll have what it takes to create your lasting legacy story. Determination is about making up your mind and pushing through with your idea, your project, your business, whatever it is you have. To be determined, you have to make sure you're into something that you really, really want. It's hard to be determined to succeed when you don't really care about the outcome. But even if you're not passionate, or if you don't have butterflies in your belly about something that you're getting into, make a decision to do it and push through it anyway. That's how you build determination. Determination begins with making that decision and then putting your all into it and vowing to keep going until the end. No matter what obstacles come your way, determination will get you through. It'll get you through them, it'll get you around them, it'll get you over them, or it'll get you under them. When you're determined, you won't be stopped until you reach your goal. What are you determined about? If you haven't chose something, decide today and push forward. Now is the only moment that we have. So decide on that today. Now, the number 2 thing about building your legacy is dedication. Dedication is all about repetition. When you're dedicated to your project, that thing that you're determined for, when you're dedicated to it, your project, your idea, your business story, whatever that story is, finishing a book, you keep coming back. You come back every day. No matter what you do, you show up. When you're tired, you show up. When you're fed up, you show up. When you're ready to give up, you show up. Every day, you show up for dedication. Determination and dedication go hand in hand. They mirror each other. And when they work together, they complement each other to help you get to the end game. What's your end game? Whatever your end game is, that's your legacy story. Tonight, I want you to think about the impact that you want to leave on the world. In today's epidemic conditions, it may be sombering to think about something like that. It might be difficult to reflect on it. But what do you want your epitaph to read? Have you done enough to assure that it's one that says what you want it to say? Is your legacy clear? It's time for us to get our legacy stories in order. You were placed on this earth to do something uniquely great that's focused all around you. What is that something? If you know what it is, type it in the box. I'd love to see what it is. I'd love to help you create your legacy stories. Are you living into your legacy story? A lot of us know what we're supposed to be doing, but we don't do it. We procrastinate. Now is the time. We're quarantined. We're at home. Why not try it now? And what will happen when you begin to take this story seriously and to the next level? Welcome to the future. It's time to write your legacy journey. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. If you haven't signed up for the 2020 Shift to Success group, it's a private Facebook group. It's where this is supposed to be airing, but I have a feeling I pushed the wrong button and I'm not in the group where I'm supposed to be. So I'm going to have to profusely apologize to our 2020 shifters. But join us over there. We are working the rest of the time that we're together, however long it takes. We are working at shifting your crisis story. Creating a legacy to build that story on is what we talked about today. And today was the last of a 10-part series that we did where we looked at the movie Self-Made and we dissected each of the characters to see how we could shift our crisis story. We went from everyone from Madam C.J. Walker to her husband, Charles Joseph, all the way to her daughter, Lelia. And boy, great lessons that we learned. So if you get on 2020 Shift to Success, you can just put it in the search bar in Facebook and go into that group. I'll happily accept you in the group. You get in there and you could see some of the videos that talked about the movie. Meanwhile, tomorrow we'll be talking some more about shifting your crisis story and how you can start writing that story today, now. Melanie, I know that you are living into your legacy story, teaching financial wealth. So if any of you guys need to get your finances in order, you want to check out Melanie Denise Perry. She is my financial planner, one of my financial planners, and has helped me to really get on track. And I have to tell you, this is just my own little personal private thing that's going on that I probably shouldn't be talking about. But even in the midst of this crisis, I'm feeling good about the investments that I've made through Melanie and the work that we put in earlier in the year or earlier in years prior. Now is a great time to start looking at your finances a little differently. So definitely do that. We have some other people who have some great crisis to champion stories. Chico Brown, who I worked with at a place called Home. Chico took his background of being involved in some kind of sordid things. Chico might have been like Sweetness a little bit. So in the movie Self-Made. But he has turned so many things around and turned communities around. So you want to take a look at those type of crisis to champion stories. And I have Al Crawford again. Excuse me, as I clear my throat. Al Crawford, who worked with me at a place called Home. When I started working with Al, he was working there with security. Al now owns his own security company, and he's the original chocolate Santa. Yes, so many different stories that are in this group. So I just want you guys to take a look at your stories today. Know that we may be in a moment of time of crisis, but that's not what defines us. How we live through this moment is what defines us. And I want each of you to live through this moment. COVID is coming out victoriously, illuminating ideas daily. So crisis to champion, Kiva, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. This group should be in 2020 Shift to Success. And I'm not sure if I put it in the right place, so I may be on my private Facebook page. But yes, this group is helping us to create a story of being champions instead of dealing with this crisis as victims. And we go over every day how to shift our crisis story, whether you're creating a new business or whether you are trying to figure out what your career is going to be when we're out of quarantine, or whether you're just trying to figure out your life story and how to deal with your kids. There's so many things that stories help us to do. And everything I do is around storytelling and story strategies to help you build out your business. And yes, I love Charles Bibbs too. He's all over my house with my paintings, and the one in the back, I think it's called The Mask. There it is. And that one was gifted to me by my framer who frames everything in my house. So I'll tell you more about him in the future. But anyway, I always promise to keep these things a little short and light, no more than 20 minutes. I hope you'll continue to join me. We're going to be on from now on at around 9:20, 9:30. We were doing a 9 o'clock hour, but a lot of the members of the group have asked that we come on a little later. So we're going to be coming on around, I might say 9:19, since we're dealing with COVID-19. Remember, we are taking COVID and we are coming out victoriously, illuminating ideas daily. Put your ideas in, put your ideas into practice. Do it now. Now is the best time to be your greatest self, and now is the best time to create your champion story from this crisis. So let's get to creating these stories. And remember, today's topic was creating a legacy story to build on. You all have legacy stories. Get them started now. Have a fantastic day, everybody. And I will see you again tomorrow, hopefully at around 9:20 is when we'll be tuning in. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.